What color eyes do most humans have? The answer is brown. What was the well-known nickname of King Richard I of England? Lion-hearted. They called him King Richard the Lion-hearted. What currency is used in South Africa? The answer is the rand. Who was the faithful wife of Ulysses in Homer's Odyssey? It was Penelope, or as a friend of mine mistakenly pronounced, Penelope. How many letters are there in the Greek alphabet? The answer is 24. There are 24 letters from alpha to omega. In which exercise method does a person increase the supply and use of oxygen? The answer? Aerobics. In what part of an accident victim's body could you take a carotid pulse? That would be in the neck. What Russian chemist is usually credited with discovering the properties of elements are periodic functions of their atomic weights? It was Dmitri Mendeleev. What anti-Western Chinese uprising of 1900 was led by the Society of Righteous and Harmonious Fists? The answer is Boxer Rebellion. What author, a contemporary of Shakespeare, wrote Dr. Faustus, Tamburlaine the Great, and the Jew of Malta? His name was Christopher Marlowe. What was E.T.'s favorite candy? E.T. the extraterrestrial liked Reese's Pieces. Heathrow Airport is located in what city? This airport is in London. What are the units used to measure resistance? The answer is ohms, named after the German physicist George Ohm. Carrots are a good source of which vitamin? Carrots are a good source of vitamin A. which is a nutrient important in vision, growth, cell division, reproduction, and immunity. In mythology, what's the name of the paradise warriors go to after death? The answer is Valhalla, said to be located in Asgard, ruled by the god Odin. Who was the only United States president not to be elected to any national office? It was Gerald Ford, who assumed the office of presidency after the resignation of Richard Nixon. What is the name of the single giant landmass or supercontinent that many scientists believe once covered the Earth? The answer is Pangaea. The Russian form of Caesar, what is the term used as the title for Russian rulers or emperors after the rise of Moscow? That title is Tsar. What type of creatures do herpetologists study? They study snakes and lizards. Who, in 1610, first observed sunspots? This was Galileo, the Italian physicist and astronomer of the 16th and 17th centuries. What is the highest grossing Broadway show of all time? The answer, as of 2022, is The Lion King. During what war, lasting from 1337 to 1453, did a young Joan of Arc fight? The answer is the 100 Years' War. This prolonged conflict was between the English and French, eventually won by the French. Who is credited with the invention of the electric battery? The answer is Alessandro Volta, the Italian physicist. A string quartet consists of 2 violins and what 2 other instruments? The 2 other instruments are the viola and cello. What is the driest continent? The answer is Antarctica. There's actually a place in Antarctica called the Dry Valleys, in which scientists believe there has been no rain or snow in over 2 million years. What colorful constant, 1 plus the square root of 5 all over 2, is the limiting ratio of terms in the Fibonacci sequence whose value is around 1.618? This constant is known as the golden ratio. In art, A landscape is a depiction of natural landforms. What is a depiction of an urban scene called? It is called a cityscape. Winning more medals than any other individual, who is considered the most decorated Olympian of all time? And the answer is Michael Phelps, who has won a total of 28 Olympic medals, including 23 gold medals. What lobe of the human brain deals with hearing and language? It is the temporal lobe. What color is absinthe? It is green. What poem is about a stately pleasure dome in Xanadu? The answer is Kubla Khan. In which country is the world's second highest mountain, K2? K2 is located in Pakistan. The elevation of K2 is approximately 800 feet less than the world's highest mountain, Mount Everest. What member of the animal kingdom is responsible for more human deaths than any other? And the answer is mosquitoes, who spread a variety of diseases, including malaria. In 1841, Thomas Dorr founded the People's Party to liberalize the constitution of what state? That state was Rhode Island. What legendary city of gold was believed by the 16th century Spanish to exist somewhere in the area of the Orinoco and Amazon rivers? The name of that legendary city was El Dorado. What is the only fruit that has its seeds on the outside? The answer is the strawberry. What does BMW stand for in English? It stands for Bavarian Motor Works. BMW is a German company that was founded in 1916 originally as a manufacturer of aircraft engines. How many levels make up the system of classification developed to arrange all of the world's organisms in related groups? There are 7 levels. Those 7 levels go from the very broad to the more precise. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species are those 7 levels. The name of what disease stems from the medieval term that means bad air? That disease is malaria. which is transmitted by the bite of an infected mosquito. Port-au-Prince is the capital of which country? It is the capital of Haiti. Port-au-Prince is French for port with the prince, but today it is actually unclear which prince this actually refers to. Water containing mineral salts is known as what kind of water? The answer is hard water. Who was the first American to travel to space? It was Alan Shepard. He was the first American but second human to travel to space behind Yuri Gagarin. Alan Shepard traveled to space in 1961, and he actually became the fifth person to walk on the moon when he did so in 1971. What term describes the tendency of all objects to keep moving in the same path or to stay still if not moving? The answer? Inertia. What Chinese religion and philosophy founded by Lao Tzu emphasizes harmony between individuals and nature through simplicity and humility? The religion is known as Taoism. Which two-word term designates the period of European history from the fall of the Roman Empire in 476 to about 1450? You'll know it when you hear it. The answer is the Middle Ages. What was the first animated feature film to be nominated for a Best Picture Oscar? That film was 1991's Beauty and the Beast. The first traditionally animated feature film was Snow White, released in 1937, and it took over 50 years for an animated film to be nominated for a Best Picture Oscar, and that film was Beauty and the Beast. Nominated, though it did not win the Oscar for Best Picture. What is the chemical symbol for the element copper? The answer is Cu. This is because the word copper is derived from the Latin cuprum. The British Port Act of 1774 closed the harbor to all commerce until the city compensated the British East India Company for what destroyed commodity? That commodity was tea. This act, of course, followed the Boston Tea Party. What perpetually virgin Greek goddess of hunting and wild areas was one of the twin children of Zeus and Leto? The answer? Artemis. Who most famously said, "Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing"? The answer? Vince Lombardi, coach of the Green Bay Packers. What mammal has the longest gestation period, which can last up to 2 years? The elephant can be pregnant for up to 2 years. Contrast that to the mammal with the shortest gestation period. Certain species of opossum only have a gestation period of 12 days. Cricket bats are traditionally made from which wood? The answer, willow. On the other hand, baseball bats are most commonly made from ash. What describes music sung without instrumental accompaniment? The answer, a cappella. Shown on the screen is the traditional Italian spelling, which has 2 P's. The Latin spelling only has 1 P. In what novel would you find the line, "All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others"? The novel is Animal Farm, George Orwell's classic, first published in 1945. What 20th century American artist was born Anna Mary Robertson and started painting when she was 76 years old? She is more commonly known as Grandma Moses. What is the smallest country in the world? The answer is Vatican City, whose area is only 109 acres. What condition is accompanied by decreased fertility and shorter lifespan and is caused by trisomy of chromosome 21? The answer, Down syndrome. What sign of the zodiac is represented by a crab? The answer is Cancer. Cancer is the 4th sign of the zodiac, and it represents the dates from June 22nd to July 22nd. The aurora borealis and ball lightning are examples of what phase of matter? The answer, plasma. What 5th century leader of the Huns was known as the Scourge of God? It was Attila. Often referred to as Attila the Hun, he was the leader of the Huns from 434 until his death in 453. History remembers him as one of the most powerful leaders of all time. What is the term for an organism that cannot make its own food, but is dependent upon complex organic substances for nutrition? The answer, heterotroph. Humans are heterotrophs because we depend upon plants and other animals for food. Who is credited with the invention of dynamite? The answer, Alfred Nobel. He is perhaps most famously known for leaving his entire fortune to establish the Nobel Prize. What term describes a baby seal? A baby seal is known as a pup. What particle in an atom has a positive charge? The particle is the proton. At the time, perhaps as many as 1/3 of the colonists opposed the American Revolution and its objectives. They were known as the American Loyalists, or by what term? The answer? Tories. Who is the American scientist called the plant doctor who revolutionized Southern agriculture by developing numerous products from peanuts, sweet potatoes, and pecans? This scientist was George Washington Carver. What term refers to a wide embankment of earth raised as a fortification barrier around a castle? The answer? Rampart. You may recognize this term from the Star-Spangled Banner. What African country was formerly known as Abyssinia? This country is Ethiopia. What is the disease German measles also known as? The answer? Rubella. It is also sometimes referred to as the 3-day measles. In geometry, what is the term for two lines on the same plane that never intersect? The answer? Parallel lines never intersect. What author described psychohistory in his Foundation novels? The answer? The great science fiction writer Isaac Asimov. This 20th century writer published over 500 books in his lifetime, as well as hundreds of short stories. What is the term for energy created by heat within the Earth? The answer? Geothermal energy. What is the main ingredient in a falafel? The answer is the chickpea. Which French phrase used in English means a false step or mistake? The answer? Faux pas. This French phrase translates to false step. What is Jupiter's largest moon called? And the answer? Ganymede. This moon of Jupiter is about twice as large as Earth's moon. Whose nickname was Lady with the Lamp? The answer? Florence Nightingale. Who was the English noblewoman of the 11th century who, according to legend, once rode through the streets of her town covered only by her long hair to protest the taxes her husband had imposed? The answer? Lady Godiva. What dinosaur, known as the Swift Plunderer, was 6 feet tall and had a long claw on each foot shaped like a sickle? This dinosaur was the Velociraptor. In which state do Mark Twain's characters Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn live? They lived in the state of Missouri. What does a Catholic call the string of beads used when praying? The answer, rosary. What is the only U.S. state that borders just one other U.S. state? The answer, Maine. What is the name of the force that slows down a moving object when it comes into contact with another surface? This force is known as friction. On what date is All Saints' Day celebrated? It is celebrated on November 1st. On this day, Catholics remember all the men and women who have been canonized. The Revolutionary War virtually ended in 1781 when Cornwallis surrendered the British forces at a village in southeastern Virginia named what? The answer, the village of Yorktown. Thor was the son of which god? The answer, Odin. What is the name for a coral reef that is parallel to the shoreline but separated from it by a deep lagoon? This kind of reef is known as a barrier reef. What syndrome does the acronym SIDS mean to child care experts? Sudden infant death syndrome. What are the 4 families of instruments that make up a symphony orchestra? The 4 families are strings, woodwinds, brass, and percussion. What is the term for the point of support on which a lever turns in moving or raising something? This is the fulcrum. What country is bordered by Germany, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Ukraine? It is the country of Poland. What is the term for the foreign policy of a nation that refuses to enter into any political or economic alliances? This foreign policy is known as isolationism. What term describes an animal whose temperature changes according to the temperature of its surroundings? These are cold-blooded animals. Humans are warm-blooded. Cold-blooded animals include insects, fish, reptiles, amphibians in general. What is the only 5-letter word in the English language ending in the letters M-T? That word is dreamt. Who is credited with the invention of the game of basketball? The answer, James Naismith. Originally, instead of shooting the basketball at a hoop and net, you of course shot the basketball at a basket. What is a long, hair-like, whip-like structure that propels a unicellular organism? The answer, flagellum. What year was Forrest Gump released? This movie debuted in 1994. Starring Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump won the Oscar for Best Picture that year. What are the coordinates of the point 7, -4 after it is reflected over the y-axis? The answer, -7, -4. What country produces the most coffee in the world? The answer, Brazil. Brazil produces approximately 1/3 of the world's coffee each year. Dermatitis is an inflammation of what part of the body? It is an inflammation of the skin, the body's largest organ. The shooting of whom, in 1914, started World War I? The answer, Archduke Franz Ferdinand.